Ora numbara nge kondo kekendo gaya numbara. So we want to begin a conversation on the fact that Hussein Obojang has ended his defense, and his big sister would be opening his defense. You know, we've been very much focused on Usainu and what's been happening to him and all of that. But that does not mean that we are forgetful of the fact that he is incarcerated with his sister. Not just his sister, but a lactating, mother, whose little baby had to, struggle to survive while the mother languishes in jail for the wrong reasons. So today is also important that we've said a lot about Usainu, but let's pin it at Ami today and have a look at why Ami should be in jail for over 2 years. This is something that I cannot really understand. But for whatever reason that is, we give it to the state. They have the power. They can say whatever, true or lies. That's dependent on them. But they cannot stop us from looking at things from one point to another. So for Ami, let's say this is Usainu's big sister. And Usainu's got a problem at home. Under normal circumstances, it's very okay that your sister comes and tries to help you. Now, Ami had directed Usainu to go to Kazama somewhere, to actually do whatever that he need to do to seek redress to all the problems he was facing. But that's not even important to us because that's not our business. Our business here is how the state got Usainu and of course went on to jail the sister and of course kept them for over 2 years, 2 months in prison. First, now, these folks told us that Usainu killed the cops and was driven to the thick forest of Casamas by his co-conspirators. Now, they met him in a mosque. This is what the government of the Gambia told us. That for a full 1 week, they were surveillancing a paramilitary basis within the Greater Banjul area. That he works in Brikama Area Council, and of course some politicians were behind him. Now, this is the script that the government gave us. Now, when the incident happened, they did not know who it was, and Mama claimed that she got the potential suspect or the person who did it. They went to Casamas and they got Usainu. And when they got him, with all their narrations, he explicitly told them, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no co-conspirators. It was my sister who actually helped me to move from one point to another until I got here because I'm here for this particular reason. They went and arrested the sister, arrested his brothers and his family members. And they did not even tell us that, oh, we arrested a suspect and his family members. They said we arrested a suspect and his potential accomplices. You see, all of that is just language. When people are trying to deceive the public, this is what they do. Tell us we arrested Usainu Bojang and his family. Because you arrested him and his family, nobody else. Now, upon arresting the young man and his family, because he clearly told you, you know what, all that you're talking about, I have no clue about it. But to say that I got co-conspirators who provided me a vehicle that took me to the thick forest of Casamas is untrue. My sister helped facilitate my travel, and of course I got to Jululum at the garage, and this particular person, the chef the garage, told me that, there is somebody here who has the ability to help you, and they directed me to Mama. So to suggest that that particular person got co-conspirators who met him in a mosque and of course provided him the escape vehicle into the thick forest of Casamas just for him to find himself, at a garage, crying or sad about, problem with a white person. Does that make any sense? But let's pin it at that point. Somebody you told us is a rebel, hired to kill, and was able to kill in that mastermind fashion, yet he does not know how to escape just for him to go to a garage and start crying about a white person? Does that make any sense? Logically, to whom would you explain that to? But again, you told us that he got co-conspirators that met him in a mosque and provided him a vehicle into the thick forest of Casamas. Is Jululung Garage a thick forest of Casamas? Secondly, who are the co-conspirators? Do you now want to tell us that Usainu Bojang and his sister, a lactating mother, is his co-conspirator to actually go and kill the cops? You arrested Ami simply because Usainu told you, you know, what you're telling is not true. My sister helped me to actually travel. Now again, let's pin it at their first witness, the driver. The driver told us that on the day of the incident, on the 12th of September 2023, that he picked Ami Bojang from Yundum, drove her all the way to Brufut that same night, and they picked Usainu. He drove them back all the way to Brikama. At the time they got to Brikama garage, you know, Usainu claimed that no, we should not go into the garage, and he started, you know, having a fight with Ami over, you know, taking a vehicle in the garage. But we know around 10, 11 or midnight, who will have a vehicle at the Brikama garage that goes to Casamas? It does not exist. But of course, who will even go inside the garage at that hour? Nobody would imagine that. Even people who live in Brikama will tell you that something did not go right. But again, let's say even if that is the case, you said these people spoke in a language that you do not understand, this same driver, but until they got to the part that was talking about the killing of the cops and the police having to tell Usain, no, don't go into the garage, otherwise you might be captured. But again, do you want to now tell us that the police are accomplices in the case? Because in the case you told us that Usainu told the driver, or probably told the sister in the presence of the driver, that police ola kate ko kana dum garaso kona kana dum pasase motola. Ning ayata ko police ola kate ko kana dum pasase motola. O police ole. Ale police o mutalaba. Why will the police tell Usainu Bojang don't go into the garage and don't actually, use the main highways? Can this driver now tell us, after knowing all of that, why didn't he actually turn his vehicle and enter Brikama police station to report these people? Why did he proceed all the way to Dar es Salaam that same night and claim that, the bike man was able to pick Usainu that same night, just for the facts to be out that Usainu only left for Casamas the next day in the afternoon? So why did you arrest Ami? Would you now tell us that Ami is the accomplice to Usainu Bojang? Ami is the co-conspirator? You only arrested her simply because she helped the brother in his travel, and then you kept her in jail for 2 good years. But let's even put it in basic investigation. You started questioning this particular person and said, you know what, I got no co-conspirators. I did not kill anybody. My sister helped me to travel, to Casamas. You went and arrested the sister. It's very simple to ask. When did you help this particular person to travel and how? Now, this incident happened on the 12th. The sister actually helped Usainu to travel on the 13th in the afternoon. Now, your witness claimed that it was the same day and at the same night that he actually picked Ami from Yundum all the way to Brufut and picked Usainu all the way to Dar es Salaam, and he did all of this in 30 minutes. But put a point, let's just pin it at that. How can a rebel, a gun mastermind, kill people in that fashion, yet he does not know how to escape? He ran back to Brufut, to stay in Brufut and wait for the sister to leave Yundum, come all the way to Brufut to pick him from the house and put him in a vehicle, transport him all the way to Brikama, then leave Brikama garage to actually go to Dar es Salaam and then get him to a bike man to take him to Casamas. Usainu does not know how to go back to Casamas if he is a rebel like you people claim? So you see that something did not go right here. But even after investigating and realizing that all your witnesses, what they were saying, does not really match what your investigations revealed, you went and fabricated an entire script and you claim that came from your investigation, when in reality that contradicts everything you brought to court. But let's say here, during your investigation, you would have got people who claim that it happened in their presence, including this particular driver. When you interviewed the driver, he told you, I actually, transported this particular person from this day and at this hour and at this time from this place to this place to that place. It's simple. Moro Italy ami samba burfoot. Ha ya samba je wati jumal. Ala fota da burfoot wati jumal. Ala bota je wati jumal. Ala fota da brikama wati jumal. Ya moy wati jumal ko itol ko ten. When did you get to Dar Salami? And how did you hand him over to another person? He would have mentioned everything that he did. Now you got Ami in custody. Question Ami. Before coming to court to expose your ignorance and outright stupidity, it was very easy to actually determine if these statements corroborate. To actually look at, did the guy say he picked Ami on the 12th? Did Ami really go to Brufut on the 12th to pick Usenu? Was that what really happened? Allah kumol be for the photo nyoko. But I don't kuriabo momento. Tajirente abato. He deliberately want to impose something on people without even thinking, without even realizing that you are dealing with a very criminal or a very severe case that would require critical thinking to analyze and understand that something did not go right here. You people were so dumb that you did not even understand how to go about criminal framing of people. Because you could not understand that there was a big difference between even if somebody tells you that I picked this person from Yulum, I took her to Brufut, and then from Brufut we came to Brikama, then to Daslame, all in 30 minutes. But all of these people were all looking for what? 1 million bounty. And then it ended up in Mama Jabi's hands. But again, if you arrested Ami because she facilitated Usenu's travel, what exactly is wrong in facilitating your brother's travel? When in reality, all your witnesses, what they try to associate Ami to, did not really collaborate with anything. Because I don't know phone. Amela mako ipura tamara. Sign ali ola fali jumala koka. Ala drive o minko atele Ami atele Ami drive. We min be for be mulial to Ami drive because okare Ami bondi jele on let's say I don't know what exact date that happened, either Tuesday or whatever, but then let's say on the 12th. Now, ite momi samba on the 12th for border. Yara for water or border for the next day in the afternoon. So ite mean for say I don't know kid lalo mana follow water. What are you going to say against this woman? And then you came out to the media to lie to the people, claiming that we got the suspect and some of his potential accomplices or his co-conspirators. When in reality, you only went home and arrested his family members and then you detained them for 3 days and released them. When you realize that everything these people are saying and what we are looking for does not match at all. You see, why would you actually try to frame other people? Look, we have seen cases like that. We've seen that young lady and the brother. The lady was, I think, was a student at St. Peter's, Mary Gomez or something. Yamina file a kordako no fanya jawiya sifa fongola. Up till date, what did the regime do about it? They did not bring the perpetrators to justice. They could not even tell who did it. And all of a sudden, it's just like that. So why did the regime lie in this particular one? And why did they try to frame a political entity? And why did they actually go on with all the lies and fabrications without even giving any justification as per why they had to do that? So it's just one thing. It's state complicity, because if you're not complicit, you have no reason to tell what does not make any sense. That is the question. But again, Ami's whole case of being in jail for 2 good years is, with his, with her lactating child out there who does not even know what it feels to have a mother, and his children all struggling day in, day out because their mother is nowhere to be found, just in prison for the only fact that she tries to help her own brother. Look, she's got to help her brother because that's her brother. And at the time, he was having a lot of mentally related and, of course, a lot of, trauma that was going through that he was going through. Again, you investigated. Now, whom did you rely on to actually, charge Ami? Because Hussein would have told you, Tonya de, Amel and they, she got me the vehicle to go. So that's the only reason you arrested this person. Now, your witnesses came and claimed that Ntalenga Amibondi, yundum to all of this. And you realize that that witness, everything he said does not hold water. But you still kept this particular woman, went in there to actually charge her, and then keep her in jail for 2 good years. Nal ballo malbo kelal. Nal bare musol long al bakelal. Nal di musol long al bakelal. And this goes to the police leadership. Look, if this was your mother, would you do that? If this was your sister, would you do that? If that was your wife, will you do that? When in reality, you wear the uniform to make sure that there is justice among all Gambians, to make sure that if there is a crime, you investigate it impartially and not to turn around to use your uniform to frame innocent Gambians and then keep them in jail, more so a lactating mother, and the entire nation is silent on the face of this injustice. No. And the same people will jump tomorrow and tell you that, oh yeah, we are women rights activists, we are gender, this and this and this are big bullshit. Because all of multimini along ko nyaka tarato nyale ki nyakaral ike fonke ko nyamandara jakan. Ngo dia ji so nila musolo nyindi ba kelal. Ibu so nila musolo nyindi ba do mala telefono format lal. Minister of Justice nila musolo nyindi albeta la ka ko mama la audio filter. Paral manke mo kendel ti mo kende jiko talla. Wala atina police musol be police kill be nyenta wulla la kata kalton nyininka who really killed the cops. And every Gambian should actually be in pain, in agony that, a lactating mother as innocent as this woman has been in Gambia's jails for over 2 years for the simple reason that she tried to help a brother who was having some issues. And after all the investigation, you realize that there is nothing in this case, but yet you actually wanted to frame them with your lies and fabrications. Amanke politician, it's just somebody on the low doing her own thing, living her little, simple life, taking care of her family the way she could. Even though we have one of the worst governments in the world, yet no, she did not say anything about all the she's not even involved in anything like that. But doing her thing on the low, ali wulia sifa bela wande musokang, ali wulia sifa bela wande bakang, ali wulia sifa bela wande dingolkang. Alman balafa fanga sodoko nyimu musola ta to nya ala yalon kila yalon ni mahani ko kuge alko let's put them in jail and put them in pain simply because what they got nobody to help them, they got nobody to speak for them because they don't have that financial capacity to stand up for themselves and of course make sure justice is done. Alko mbadanga wuliale kamindiata nyang wotilila. And then the rest of the nation will feel like because we are what? We are just, self-protectionist. Oh, why should I say something about it? Let me just ignore it and mind my business. Tomorrow, if it is your mother, your wife, or your sister, please shut up like you are doing now. So when I see people say, no, why affair be jehud? What people don't understand is the impact this is going to have on this family is going to be lifelong. Because a woman who had just given birth not long ago, alio muta, altata was sorong, adingo ma, cannot even tell her what my mother looks like. The rest of her children are just struggling from one place to another. Aliye wala dimbali be charinde, aliye tora, aliye batandi, aliye kolea lekang. For over 2 years. Simply because I tried to help my brother to travel to Casamas and the regime turned around to frame him, to lie against him. And somebody, like ite ke kanambani la kurto ite nana kawuliya foko ndalanga mi musu kare samba from this point to this point ala ya lon kila ite kalungo min fon fani wata ala lungo min fon lo ma nyoje fenna munebe mobula la wala. But these are the people who were coached by the regime to come and lie against these people. But one would ask the question, why will the regime go that low? Why will they do that? And these are people many along and they should have really that that humanity in them, that level of kindness and consideration to women. But these are the people who are the worst of people in society. And then they will go home and make their wives cook for them or actually have conversation with women. And of course, they look them in the eye and feel like, you know what, I am progressive, I am successful, I am happy. When in reality, one the balamuta, one the muso, one the sister, yo soron nyala mi yalon kanin tonya nintilungo manda. This is what you people want us to believe. And this is what every woman in the Gambia want to sit down and be silent about. That they all can see that a lactating mother is actually put in prison for the wrong reasons. And everybody feels like, do suma business. Yan deka binilang koy dohali. Do suma business. Ini yung keso fanang bodala rin. Dol fanang be do suma business kailan. Aja sungkan din netatar lagi. But sometimes it's funny. But yet it's not funny because the whole point is that for somebody, and I mean like mudon jigen bu mudgornak. With everything that you have done to her, she's taking the patience with it. Her children sometimes act stronger than I, because when I talk to them, it feels like, dude, you feel so cool, man. But what can they do? Because the question comes back. Defuñu, xamuñu, yeguñu. What can we do? ñoom ñoo amee doole bi ñoo amee nguur ngi lu leen neex ñoo amee uniforme bi lu leen neex loolu la ñooy def ñun mënuñ ci dara comme que suñu yaay moo si nekk kay moom we're just there to actually look at things as time goes on ngay tilo fanoyeke tiloy boy it's the same thing, the same routine, up and down mile 2. Imagine if you're spending 200 to and fro every day for 2 good years, almost 150,000 without your mother, who is actually struggling to actually give you a living. Who is going to help you to do all that? Do we even think how these families are surviving, how these families are actually eating, how these families are sleeping, when in reality their mothers right in that prison cell for doing what? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. These people respect nobody, let alone to talk about somebody they even framed. Look at the surviving lady who is recommended for overseas treatment, but for 2 years she is not taking for any treatment. So ning ayadara ko police la saya etol sunufang, and then womu kudemi yalang kwa etol sula. A surviving lady is right there, but of course they cannot even take her to overseas treatment. And this is what you tell us, that we have a reasonable and a sensible and of course a progressive government. Nini yalang ko ning police la fa ni mi abondi kan don along ko iman to nyaf. Tabuka malamola wala fam. And I don't even look at any relationship when it comes to this particular case. You don't feel like what I'm saying is okay with you, fuck out of my life. It's as simple as that. Because that simply means you're just a dishonest person who does not believe in nothing and does not believe in the truth. So why do I need somebody like that? So the whole point is that this is a guilty nation of people who are complicit, because in the face of injustice, silence would mean complicity. There are over 65% of Gambia's population, but they are seeing outright injustice, and everybody could actually connect one and two and realize that, something did not go right in this case. But everybody feels like, do suma yai, do suma dom, do suma jarba, do suma mboka, so suma business nekochi. We are all pretending to be self-protectionists because we only care about just us and probably our jobs. But you cannot do all of those things, rightly, in the presence of outright injustice. So Ami will start her defense, and now one wonders, what exactly do you want Ami to say? I help Hussein to travel, yes. This particular driver said he picked me from this day to this day. I only went there the next day and not that day. So whatever he said was a lie. Explicitly clear. So what else would you tell us in Ami's, defense? What exactly does he need to defend? You would even defend something that you really... What exactly is Ami going to defend? Because I keep wondering, I was driving back home and thinking around, okay, this defense is coming up. What exactly is the point? There is only one person who mentioned Ami. That is the so-called driver who was coached to come and lie and said that, I took her from that night to go to Bruford and I picked them, and when they started talking about the killing of the cops, they spoke in a language that I understood. But of course, that particular driver did not drop them at a police station, but still took it. Ami charge me na. What driver manyana kanalawala? You see, the state witnesses, if the reality is that wala ko tonya ito le mi follow tonya wala be nyanda tar la mile tool at this point in time, because let's look at it first. Ita ko ntala nga ami bondi yundum nga samba fo brufut nga bonde brufut nga samba fo brikama barka brim fota brikama be diam kan ni jola kan wala fo kabiri fota da faroto ay o fonin kan wala ndanga mi moy ba ite kan mi moy ya moy ko kar kay mo fala ke police wala kate ko kana dum gara so kon han wobe ita mo mari report ita mo police ko ita mo wala jindila mo do kon barete wala samba ko denk bara sa ni da ko wala ko kana tan nyaaro silola fo ite wala samba ni ko ma silola na ni samba ni ko ma silola samba ni sila jumala al buni bete bulala ka mo fala samba ni ko ma silola. Then you are complicit, just like you charge Army of trying to help Usainu to escape. Escape what? Nothing. But the fact of the matter is that if Army tried to help Usainu to escape, where does that leave the driver? Atol ko mi matol la witness ot. Alal kal fanga dunal bu kal fanga kalam dafa. Because ya moy ko karo ko I mo fala ki side bo sambala promo. If you are not complicit in it, which is just a fabricated script of lies and manipulation. Just like the person who claimed that, oh yeah, I wrestled down the gunman and then he threw a gun at me and I picked the gun and my boss asked me to hide it. And then the police came to court to say that the gun was only picked after 10 days because somebody hid it. Now the person that hid that gun and his boss should go to jail because that is concealment of evidence. Again, wali fongo dunali ebulai mindiate iba kala sade kona be fanya ken simply because I don't like at pick nale wulia sifa be fo ka diate nyame puri afo nyama. Olo mtu nyama. Just like your independent witness said that he came to anti-crime because of a vehicle problem and he arrived there around midnight and he entered through the back door simply because his name was not signed in. So therefore, to fabricate a script, not to really make it look like, yeah, I came in through the right door, because if he said he came in through the right door, we will say, bring the register ngaji be. But I don't know adunta nim back door lanko. In what security institution will you go to at midnight and enter through the back door? I used to live in a military barracks. If you are not a resident there is no way you will just walk in through the back door. More so, and the crime is not even a human resident. It's just there for, it's a place for work. So who goes to that workplace at midnight? Is midnight part of working hours? Funny either anti-crime here muta sudo le de na de soronjet, but I meta muta imam kuke ko you have a vehicle problem. But what has a vehicle problem got to do with anti-crime? Vehicle problem, police station, and then to claim that I entered anti-crime through the back door by midnight, that is just impossible. Go, police, no single police officer will tell me that somebody comes to anti-crime at midnight and of course enters through the back door without being processed in. That is even dangerous to the people who are working there. Because do you know the person that you're actually allowing to enter through the back door? Do you want to tell me that anti-crime is not a secured place? Anybody, somebody will never rek mun na ñew rek mu duga num ko nexe mu gëna num ko nexe. Lolu ngeen ñu bëgga wax ay fenni kesse. Ay fenni kesse. And again, you Ibu Sow, you are the same person who will go and pick this independent witness in your vehicle, drove with him all the way to, the airport, and of course start questioning, Usainu Bojang. Ngo, you said he's an independent witness. Even transportation, he should not be dependent on you. But how did he actually get to that place? This is like Sabuela, and all of that. All that has been established. You have civilian operatives within you who actually help you to mastermind some of these criminal acts. You use them to actually frame our own citizens to lie against them. Look over here. Just like, imagine, Director of Public Prosecution of the Gambia coming to court to claim that Mama's audio is lost because her phone was spoiled. Like a whole DPP of our country. Kukel ndantang wolonde ana mo enda tonye bindete sambala Gambia fankot be sambala kiti jumal meni alon ka ko tan nako ibuka tonya nin tilmo tamani ja be muli ya folal nin tapale mollet drok dilal bolo kono karanda malong drok ka mission nya dila within court complexes nin la ko dangol ay tapale kesse so ñinom kuti mimbe sotoring. So you will come with Ami, and then the whole Jabari Jambur. Wearing a mask for 2 good years is enough trauma on that woman. And to come out for your children to look at you, Like itabu ini dingol fon be nyoji be la nyaadi iba mona fon fole iba fole mona fon keta ini si nyol fon iba wol jibe no la nyaadi iba fole ko mona fon keta. And all of these people, they got neighbors, they got, you know, am nañ ay andandor, am nañ ay xarit, am nañ ay njabot, and then yen ngeen tog, you go to sleep there, you so, and then dangay nelaw ba handor nga fogg na comme like yow yaa si nekk fekk ay doomi jàmbur yeen a ngi leen tëj si ay fen, ay doomi jàmbur yeen a ngi leen rey si ay tapale. And this is what you people want us to believe. And you know the funny thing about it is that you see these two boys they killed. They have this tradition among their group, like the batch they trained with, that if any one of them is sick or seriously ill or something, they put money together and bring to you. Come, you know, if you Gambian, people are kind and cool. But the surviving lady, while she was in hospital, this class of people put money together, wanting to send one of their senior, you know, people to go and see her and, of course, extend their support to her. The police denied them. The police denied the police from seeing the surviving lady. Don't you know about? Lo hamantane, it's a tradition within them that ni momo sasade kone kodo kafunka funyomo ye modan tankije puri ete mari jibe. But police will be all ball no la nyari la korani ndo jibe because they did not want any communication. Go police nol atolle a long ko alla ke balle alla di nol 5 murunta ka wuliya foje kado ni tolo make mone be bulala wuliya fola je ka fon tole usene be do ko la brikama area council abo UDP la tele hudi dung you know rebel la mati you know he acquired the gun from the Casamas rebellion obenyo wuliya. So now tell me, ask your boss why, how, and from where. And you all know how basic police investigations are done. But to tell me that he's a rebel, okay, let's say that's a little mistake or that is out of bound. He works in Brikama Area Council, Moto. That is an inexcusable mistake. You cannot even call that a mistake. That is inexcusable. You know why? It will not take you 30 minutes to confirm if he works in Brikama Area Council or not. He was the guy in hoodie. It is very simple to actually, go and pick Yankuba Dabo to say, we want to know your entire security details to confirm that. You did not do all that because your script was prepared prior. It was a prefabricated script and, of course, executed in that fashion. And then you came out to give that entire script, which does not really match with the circumstances, surrounding the killing of the cops. And then that exposes your complicity and your initial, probably, discussions to do whatever had happened. Moro, atolle alo mune atinali was script or fabricate because amure belolti umanke mistake oti. Abe dokola Brikama Area Council umanke mistake oti. Abe nu Yankuba Dabola court case umanke mistake oti. Atele hudi dung during that court case umanke mistake oti. Atondi akukido nyimba aboli jelo during that court case umanke mistake oti. We use codes to actually get him umanke mistake oti. Umanke like all of these things, Sankara Emimbe reading Tole from A to Z, none of it is true. So do you want to tell me that Sankara's entire script was from the police, in investigation? What kind of investigation? But again, when these people were called in court, were subpoenaed, and they were asked about this particular, statements, they claim that it's intelligence. But Momimbe mutarita bulu. Itanyanta investigate. Let intelligence. Intelligence from who? What is the source of your intelligence? Imagine Sankare being asked in court. Ite mimbe for Jumale for ite agava ko police la fonya. Police Jumala for ya kota fola. Matonya. Nga mo kurungol nin tapalel nin criminal ol jela baranda man criminal tolel jami ni masakunda nila ina yin criminal ndongol si. Police all la ko their investigation is what revealed this. Sankare, can you provide the preliminary police investigation report? No. Sankare, who among the police called you to tell you all of this? No, it's the police. Police has over 10,000 people. The police will be a diameter. The police instituted an investigation panel. Did you speak to the people from the investigation panel? And one thing about this case is that when the police investigate something, it goes to the police prosecution. And the police prosecution probably send the files to justice for advice. And justice would recommend whatever action that needs to be taken. So atol your investigation o kela fal pareta. Aliya samba police or la prosecution. Waliya samba to justice. And justice actually used all your this investigation and of course recommended for the prosecution of Ami Bojang and Hussein Bojang. Without anything that they can actually visibly lay hand on and say, Tonya, nyine batina lamba nyi recommend la for prosecution. Because you are so much used to a single narrative prosecution and incarceration ka fanya dada, ka la molukang, ke prosecute wakang, ke sorong wakang. Moro wata kela nying kesto. Anong ka wuli fanang ka molu fatili mbali yako no mini along ko moro. Ila only crime is to wear the uniform to work for this country. Momam policia doya, but what is in it? If it is not out of patriotism, what is in it? Not just police from come Gambia doko. Moro molka doko kela danko drum banku kano ning. That's what we got. But what is in it? Jumale doko ke masa kunda and then you actually become rich nada na manke sunyaron in tapalealt. Just based on your, like, let's say salary, Gambian salary, me along komoro unka yani tili tang fanga buke sambano ila bolwoko. So people actually survive. It's just Gambia. It's like the whole system is just for survival, not really to make you better. So you go there, dance a dollar, just for the betterment of that country, but not really that it is financially rewarding or it is rewarding to a point that you feel like I feel good doing what I'm doing. No. But a wali uniform or doom. Imagine you will someone that let's say we can yela uniform or be ku for tell beje yela someone to be mutaya be polish yela you be iron like these are little bachelor boys who would have just joined army yela uniform or be iron for the local beje ngara do ko la yaron ye black for be ko tell be senk just for somebody me along ko wala nyande de protect le de do ko ka banko le you're wearing that country's uniform for them to frame all that criminal-minded actions and come and kill you and claim that, oh, yeah, it's the UDP because it only be complain kan parte jallola. And that other parte jallo dofa, and then you want to tell us that that's a coincidence. But with all your lies, you want to tell us that all those lies are what? They are just mistakes? These are just not acceptable in any decent society. So the whole point now is Ami Bojang would actually begin her defense. And probably that will not take more than 3-4 days, I would suggest. But upon that, this case is concluding. And one thing that is clear, beyond reasonable doubt, is not just Usaino's innocence, but state complicity. But also, it speaks to the fact that we as a people are very much complicit in matters like this because we feel like we are just going to serve as self-protectionists and we will not speak the fact where it is required. Where would have this case been? Because it's absolutely clear that the state was out to frame this person, to lie against him, and to make sure they do everything possibly, anything possible they could to actually put him in jail. That is why they formatted his phone. That is why they actually come with the suits that did not fit. Because in the malam fanang ite mola telefono beji be yajo ko tonya karda amantanyo lade. So ural nga bula. Ono number nga telefono format nga ulia laka. This is what the police do. Bara ko nga fanya memba ko mfala walter nal ballom al takela. Ale min fanam fa nal dingol lom wala al dollom wala al kotol lom al te fala. Ale mini fanan soro nal dollom wala al ballom wala la sister lom wala la musollom al takelela waye lu waye def rek sa bop mom moy minke dre kunka minen tafal to nyala kala bang al mam malubi tol mo jaw balla fangoti one thing I know, if I was a police officer mina la uniform mbala la headquarters nga jani je ngam fonyo fentem fato la jow yana la hasidia ni hadumo. You do this for politicians like police as an institution to come out and on facing cameras to tell us Hussein Obojang is a rebel, he works in Brikama area council, Abenu Yankuba Dawola court case lot, rebel Ola Mati, he acquired the gun from Kazamas rebellion. Somebody provided him the escape vehicle in the thick forest of Kazamas just for you to go and arrest him and his sister. Alko momo e kulonje, let them go and bring you evidence. Manka jantara Kazamas janaka na alia sorong. Simply because you wanted to confiscate everything he's got. Moro Janaro Mankajang, the people know you, we are looking for him. Mankajang had done everything he needed to make sure that he keep records of those information. That's a very credible young man. Out of nothing, out of his own volition, he said, you know what? Ngamil lombe na wala fola lota katunya fasa. He doesn't even know you know what Tonya mo killing tomorrow. He could have just said, you know what, na haji teje, let me, just like any other person would say, hey, moro, te malafi diam kuala. The regime and the police have the blood of their members right staining on in their hands. Amanda idal fongola, amanda ibulol fongola de. Nka yellow ka jolon na ni idal ni nuola la kari dole wulta ka wulia sifa be la moluka nka kumo sifa be for me alon ko moma alon aboda dami. Ale wandi bare muso wandi muso wandi bama ko muta ko soronya si wala fa sanje flo min tambira wala. Every one of you alal fam contribute, just sit back and reflect and think, if this was me, how would I feel? That ibulu medu isi medu muli wuli dorong hani kabiri tada fam foya alon ko tonya ite make e ko hani alanga lakam alanga telephone format alanga fenga be mabo. Let's hide the gun. Let's the vehicle that they said actually belongs to a police officer and that you people claim earlier on that belongs to Usaino Bojang. Muna nalman dawo muta. Why did you compensate the 3 military people who claimed that they were the witnesses and then you actually gave them a trip to Turkey? How could a military man even say that Ndamalo Nimonyo Tema, who actually the senior man is, all Fanial Beji Beba? That your ballistic examiner would say only 3 bullets came out of the gun. This government is one of the most disgusting ones, just like the previous. I mean, for no going on, but you people know how you criminally connived to kill the cops and to frame Usaino Bojang. And no mama ko hani taranso mandungate bulbar audit report ya tandila ko mama ay 1 million odiatella. Barama menga mama ning IGP je ka jele fo ngaibe kachala feka kaka in a public space. When this case is still ongoing. If you have people like that, one of the most senseless people leading the Gambia has a kakistocratic regime. Our country is being led by the worst of society. And President Mimodewa, no, Feli. No, not causing Carla Benin Blackar. No, number in Carla Benin, not Benin Blackar. That's how you even talk to investors. Oh no, come, groundnut. Oh, about anything about groundnut. Oh no, go to GGC. Not former whatever. Guardian ding. For him, it's about family. He's just positioning them to actually do what? Nothing, just to loot state resources. By minin tafal to nyawela banal. Allah man sakunda taman nyanna haji tawadot. But we just give this 1 month to actually this case because it's almost ending. The rest of it politics. Aldaman dia motijang. Albadi man siya motijang. For now, tapalel mini along ko they are only after their selfish interest. Whatever bulala no maka boring al no warni one time. Tonya dron. Imasa kundala food, amasa kundala beta dunia. Parangol. Kaya ngal tento almati loto diala man, But that's just it. Ami would actually start her defense, but what exactly is she going to defend? What did they even say about her? One thing. On this day, when in reality, Ami only left the next day. Na left a min. Alwo waje. Ale William Befom. Allahu alam. Abani alatim. Baraman dada na ufang rad. Menyo kitin la janna for janning, kudo bolaje. Atolo moja ubaleti. The IGP, the former IGP, DI or DIG nyolo, for ibuso ita la kuo from kanda jakal mobile, item funding kel to control. Ite Usaino jibe, ko funding kelom committee. Ita ko hanimba nga uliasi fa belaka. Imagine, nite nyimbo frame nung for the succeed. With all the lies, you are going to put this boy in live imprisonment, put his sister in live imprisonment. Moro, and then you'll be walking in the streets happily. Moro, itam jongula la famodi. Itam moja ubalti man. Itam ni sana man jaman fata hani fengo fenna man. You are so wicked. And then man come mun ka ko no boy no ni nyimbo be nung MDL nung anung boy Cameroon long ko mo Cameroon la ka joya dunia fengo beti. That this boy have that audacity to go and even format Usaino Bojang's phone. No, up till date I cannot even deal with that. I tap it de kunyufi. I go and search your name on Facebook. I write you a message, dude. Yo ya fenal ki. Do len musa tonto. Ñu len gëna sick. Da ngeen di sadik lu sadik alma sadik famali. Moro, ale uniform o wura ko mal ni mole ben town ni non sal ju fara foti loy boy. Atol ñu mo jawol. Police ken dol be faare Gambia. Very good people. Mo kende bal. It's not even worth mentioning people because then they will think, oh, one thing or another. But police will mo kendol bin be Gambia buka bang. Tala ko okay jamal. Boy, imagine people minaka law using na butanga bobu no for hours directing traffic. What do they get from it? Fana nga barajo ri Dakar ko do wonte. Bar ni ko mole police ol hormo police ol la nyaton ko la nyanda police ol fang hormala. Alman danki hormanta ya. Look at that SAR guy who actually came to that, pure protest, talking to his subordinates in the language and manner he did. So disrespectful. Why tol ka amena ko ni mi rankin din so drong lang ba nga sembo jay mo dol kam. Dol bala ko wala kam ma wala nyama. Al fangolong. You this in that, black uniform, long. Some of you, not really, most of the people, like, the fact is that 3/4 of the police, or probably everyone in the police know that something did not go right in this case. But they cannot speak for themselves. Whenever we are speaking, we are not talking about the good and the nice, cops. We are talking about the leadership. And that leadership, leadership needs to change. And of course, some of them need to be prosecuted. And including all the way to interior, not just at the police headquarters, but even the interior. So the police need to revolt and ask the question, who killed the cops? You need to ask that question to your leadership. Because you all know how basic investigations are done. And you know that something did not go right in this case. And you know that all fingers point to your leadership. Because they had no reason to lie. And the lie in this case means complicity. Because it's not just a single lie. Near cow county is almost over 35. So if those are not cover-ups and manipulations, and of course trying to hide one thing or another, what would you classify them? What would you categorize them to be? So on that note, we are wishing Ami well, we're closely in touch. The good thing is that, for some reason, I think they still allow people to make 1 or 2 calls my sister passed a couple of weeks, and my auntie did say, oh yeah, we spoke to Usainu and he said this and that and that. We got that. And the dudes are going there regularly to see how the folks are doing, which is great. But the whole point is Usainu's worry was never even about him, because the last time we got in touch was not even about him. He has always been worried about Ami. Because at the guilt he's got is like, but the whole point is maybe some problems at home. That is what led my sister to be incarcerated for 2 years. And then Usain knows how those people are going to really, fend for themselves, and how her family is going to really be kept together. Because the whole point he has always been telling my sisters that because but amita bonola je, and the guilt is that imagine that burden on the mind of this young man, and then he'll come out of jail, he's going to stay with that burden for the rest of his life because of him. His sister's been jailed for over 2 years with and then the children will look, for over 2 years. And then they will look back and say, at the end of the day, that's just it. But then you have destroyed the family. You've, kind of put them in a mess. You've kind of put them in a, serious financial burden. You've kind of destroyed their lives going forward because they got children. How will these people even focus in school for 2 years? Probably they would have gone all out of school. Do you even care? You don't. Ekara wan barakanta yatili wandi dolla eko wol tora eko wol tilimbale eko wol dunia tinya ala mandral damay sama buka bongal damal la suwol kono anon tilo buka malajet fano buka kal damal ya no suwo buka kwal damal ya also wolonje nimbi yamra ko ni imbul do wulinde ko ndama mo wori no tabi ya sembola bandabul nyindo fana wulinde yava ko mo manta wori de ha ali yamra lo finde ale press conference ko ale wuli asifa be fo moli altuji atol lo jumalti ko do be je fa ni mira nyin la ko fa la stress o ka wutu ndale fa ka dum mol kon, but you know aman jalal. Anyway, you know, we gotta go, man. It's almost getting to 5 over here, so guy I don't want to do dialogue.